I'm a bearded princess, combing that beard. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the wilderness on the internet. I am the Hunter Wild, an entertainer, over at twitch.tv/thehunterwild. You can also follow me on Twitter at the Hunter Wild TV. I would love to see it. I'd love to see it anywhere, everywhere, all the places, just not in my bathroom. That is a special place for me. This is another installation of Deep Casting, a series where we focus on how to get your stream off the ground or take it to the next level. And in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about how to talk. It is the big one. This is the big one. This is the one that people ask me about way more often than anything else. Yo, Hunter, I don't have any viewers. I don't have anybody in my chat. How do I talk? How do you just continuously talk? How does this happen? What are the things going on in your head? The mutations that allow you to talk, whether or not anybody's in chat or not? How does a broadcaster who's just starting out, or who simply has viewers who lurk and nobody's talking in chat, if you don't have that back and forth flow, that back and forth interaction, what do? How do you talk? An acquaintance of mine, an incredible broadcaster, Scarlet Rose, made an interesting point earlier this week, maybe it was last week, that she is going to stop using her webcam on stream for a variety of reasons, but one of the main focuses... Foci? Focal. One of the main reasons is that you have to focus a lot on talking itself, because people who have both audio and visual get the opportunity to read your facial expressions in order to get a sense of communication, right? Things that you do with your body language, that you do with your face, they convey a lot, sometimes more, sometimes less, sometimes something different, sometimes something in conjunction with what you're saying. So, for instance, I've been playing a lot of Just Cause 3 lately, and I face plant as I'm flying with my wingsuit a lot. And sometimes, like, right after, I'm just like, I face plant, I get back up, I start rocking through the air, face plant immediately again. And one of the things that I noticed that I was doing so regularly in that game, that I do in many games where I have a lot of consistent failures, is it's simple, it's universal, everybody understands it when you do it. Right? It looks like failure. You know what I mean? When you get to see what's going on with somebody's face, they don't have to be saying anything for a lot to be conveyed. You're like, you know exactly what I'm doing if you can see me going like, or if I'm like, you know, it's so wildly different. And I talk with my hands a lot too, as you can see. That makes a big difference. If you take the camera away, the only thing that gets expressed is what you do. Well, by and large, I mean, you can do some things in game to express some emotions as well, to convey some information. But by and large, you rely on your voice alone. And it got me thinking. What would I do? What would I do if I couldn't rely on the visual cues that I send to you guys? And we're going to be talking about a bit of that today on the How to Talk Deep Casting episode. Alright, first things first, a system that I call time bubbles. Time bubbles. This is something that I started using as soon as I started broadcasting. Like the moment when I started broadcasting full-time right out of the gate, I did some test streams earlier on. That's where I began putting together how would one go about talking. I might have heard this somewhere else. I'm not sure. Nothing's really coming to mind, so I can't necessarily give credit where credit might be due. But if you've heard this before from somebody else, feel free to give them the original credit. I have no idea if I completely made this up myself or not. The time bubbles idea basically has these concentric circles, right, of different points in time in the future, but presumably also they go back in time too. You can tether a lot of things together, and they're really intended to give you expansive realms to talk about, and then each one of those can open up new avenues that you can explore with monologues, with points of dialogue and conversation, new ideas that you can bring up and start talking about. It's important to note at the beginning here that broadcasters very rarely are good at talking at the very beginning. People that you go and watch them broadcast, and even if they like never read chat and they don't have any back and forth flow of chat, they are just amazing and like on point with like constantly communicating what's going on in their minds, what's going on in the game, other points of interest, whatever it happens to be. There's just a flow of information that makes sense, that is entertaining to watch and listen to, and feels engaging. 9 times out of 10, probably more than that, probably 95 times out of 100, those broadcasters did not have that skill when they started broadcasting. Some people learned it in, at university courses. Some people may have had a job before that taught them to do this kind of thing. Some people may be a natural at it, but most people aren't and didn't. Most people are starting off shy, not sure what to say, not sure how to really go about striking up the monologues when nobody's talking in chat, and it's a skill that you develop over time. That's part of what I'm trying to give you. Part of what I'm trying to do here today is give you a few tools that you can put in that tool belt that you can bust out when need be in order to help become a natural at constantly talking and constantly conversing. So the time bubbles idea, concentric circles in time, typically moving forward in time, but you can also string together ideas that exist previously in time, things that you've already done in the game and so on. But it's a fairly simple concept that these concentric circles move out from where you are now, usually in the forward direction. From a few seconds out, 10 seconds out, something like that, up to 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and then way further out from there, you can just build these concentric circles. What do you expect to happen, plan to happen, want not to happen, totally don't expect to happen, think is perfectly impossible, and will never happen in the game? So let's say you're playing Ark Survival Evolved, and a title that recently came out, or came out several months ago, I guess, one way or another. It's an interesting title, a survival game where you're trying to build a base, gather resources, fight against and tame dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures. So let's take this game as an example. In Ark Survival Evolved, at any given point in time, you can be talking about the resource that's right in front of you that you're trying to gather. How much of that resource do you want to get? Where else might you have to go in order to get that resource? What do you hope that you don't encounter while you're trying to get that resource because of encounters that you've had in the past trying to get that resource in that particular region? Are there other things that you can be gathering at the same time? What's your weight situation like? And how much of it can you gather? How many more minutes can you go gathering stuff before you have to head back? Are you interested and willing to be slightly encumbered where you're going to walk more slowly? Do you have weapons on you to protect yourself while you're trying to go back to the base if you're really slowly? Do you really wish that you had a certain type of dinosaur as a tamed companion to help you collect and or carry these things? Do you have plans to get that particular type of thing in the near future? Is that one of the things that you're going to be doing today? Or do you really wish that you could, but you really have to prioritize some other dinosaur that you really have to pick up and focus on ahead of time? What exactly is this resource going to help you do? How does this resource fit into an overall resource management situation? Maybe this is just some thatch that you're gathering so that you can go back and make a certain element for your house. That element that you're going to add in there is going to give you more room to be able to make the next stage of an armor development stuff. And then that's going to help you do. You see that there are all of these intertwining things that have stages in time, as well as kind of a networked pattern, almost like a spider web, where you can take one path and see all the different structures that fits into, right? In terms of what you're going to be, in terms of what you are going to be doing or not doing in the game. There are so many different paths that your mind just has to settle on one temporarily, move forward one step, one pace. What am I going to be doing over the next 10 seconds? What does that have to do with anything else? Find any one of those other paths, start talking about that thing. Where does that lead you? That's going to get you talking about something else. As I said before, right out of the gate, that might not be super easy to do. You might have to take some pauses, think about it, maybe go back and cover some ground that you talked about before. But you will learn this skill over time, and it will become second nature to you, where the flow of information inside your head and out of your mouth is just going to be flawless. Or you might even fuck up and like forget what you were talking about. Pick up a new one. Start over again. What are you going to be doing over the next 10 seconds? How does that play into what your plan is for doing with your base and taming shit an hour from now? Or 3 days from now? What do you want the final base to look like? What plans can you make? What things can't you predict? Talk about the stuff that you can't know. You know, there's so much information there, and that's just all within the game itself and your plans and expectations for that game. There's also outside of the game stuff that you can talk about. You can make an outline of subjects before you start broadcasting. Maybe take 10 minutes before you start broadcasting and brainstorm some stuff. What are some interesting things that have happened to you lately? What are some interesting, maybe you want to look at gaming news. Maybe you want to look at recent reviews for games, whether or not you agree, disagree with that review, how reviewing happens altogether, what games are in development, what games might be coming out soon, your perception of how a certain genre is going, your favorite indie titles for the year. Brainstorm some lists, and then brainstorm some branches out from those lists. Same type of thing we were talking about. Take one point of information, take one step with it, and see where those branches lead. Write down each one of those branches, see where those lead. And you can get some stuff listed out that maybe every once in a while you're talking about something in game, it'll trigger one of these ideas that you just wrote out before you started the stream or earlier this week. And then you'll have a prefabricated group of information, set of data or talking points or whatever that you can then spiral off into and have all this really interesting stuff that requires no feedback from the community. Make sure that it's stuff that you can talk about without having any feedback from the community. That is going to, in all likelihood, be something that is at least somewhat interesting to at least some viewers who might be popping into your stream, even if they're just lurking. If you're talking about something that you're interested in, the chances are that you're going to make it sound a little exciting. You're going to make it sound a little interesting. And that is what gets other people interested in the things that you're talking about. There are other things that you can talk about as well in regard to the game that you're playing. You can talk about the design of that game. You can compare and contrast it to other games that you have liked, that you have disliked in the past. What things are you really enjoying? What things do you hope to see in future iterations of the game or in the progression of that genre or that style of game? What are your favorite weapons? What are your favorite skills? How do you hope to move or progress your character in terms of skills and weapon development, skill trees, and so on? There are so many different subjects within just that one game or related to that game itself. They're kind of unending. There should be some kind of limit to them, but if you're going to be casting that one particular game for at least a few days, you should have no shortage of content. It's just a matter of giving yourself the tools in your own mind to gain access to that potential content so that you can give that content to your viewers. Try and develop some of the tools that I'm giving you here. Try and watch and take notes. I cannot recommend this enough. I say this every once in a while in some of these deep casting videos. Watch your favorite broadcasts and take notes. Get a particular subject in mind. Like you are just now watching this episode of Deep Casting from me. Now, go on to Twitch, find your favorite broadcasters, and watch what they do tonight, today, tomorrow. Do this real soon. Watch what they do and take notes. Watch what they do when it comes to how they talk and converse, especially when they're not talking with chat, when they're just doing their own thing. What kinds of things are they mentioning? Even write down the specifics. And then when you're done watching that broadcast, go back and read over your shit and abstract it. What did that specific thing that they were mentioning, how did that relate to how you can talk in general about a game? What type of nugget of information? What type of info nugget? Info nug, we'll call them. Info nug, that's right. What kind of info nug was it? And how can you relate that to other types of info nugs? How can you work that into general info nug distribution to your chat, and so on with the info nugs? Watching your favorite broadcasts and taking notes has got to be one of the biggest hints I can give anybody. One of the biggest recommendations I can give you all together. Whenever it comes to any type of thing that you want to improve about your cast, go watch your favorite casters, take some notes, see what they do. Don't try and imitate them to the T. Don't try and imitate them point by point. See how what they do can be abstracted. See what types of things they're doing and how you can forge that into your own thing. Try and emulate to an extent and make the broadcasts that you love seeing yourself, the ones that make you come alive. Clearly that's the kind of thing that you really jam out to, and it's probably the kind of thing that you'd be able to do fairly well. Watch those broadcasts, take the notes, do the thing. If you enjoyed today's episode of Deep Casting, make sure that you hit the like button down below. Go over and tap on that subscribe button if you want to see the future Deep Casting vids or any highlights, YouTube exclusives, anything else. Make sure that you're following on Twitter as well, at TheHunterWildTV, or over at twitch.tv/TheHunterWild if you want to catch my broadcasts live. Also, go check out some other YouTube content that we got rolling out up in this piece, and I will see each and every one of you back up in here next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the wilderness on the internet.